Good day, everyone. We have been taught about all the lessons we need to learn since we started learning. We know that our teachers are relying on some things in order to become successful in teaching us. But we are not taught about the offsets or the behind-the-scene processes. I am Cherry Ann Kubay, a third-year BS Ed Mathematics student of Adventist College of Technology Incorporated, and in today's video, we will be tackling about the underlying principles and strategies in teaching mathematics. So here are the points that we are going to talk about in this lesson. The first one is constructivism in mathematics teaching. The second one, teaching for understanding for mathematics teaching. The third one, Dale's cone of experience. And the last one, the various constructivism strategies in teaching mathematics. So according to Henry Poincaré, mathematics is the art of giving the same name to different things. So what is mathematics for you? At the end of this lesson, the learners are expected to describe how constructivism as a strategy works in the teaching of mathematics, describe how teaching for understanding can be used in mathematical teaching, describe how Dale's cone of experience is applicable in mathematics teaching and learning, and describe how other constructivism strategies can improve teaching and enhance learning in mathematics. Constructivism is the theory that says learners construct knowledge rather than just passively taking information. As people, we experience the world and reflect upon those experiences. They build their own representations and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge. That's what we call schemas. So you can see in your screen right now the main theories of the constructivism. The first one is John Dewey, who is often cited as the philosophical founder of this approach. Brunner and Piaget are considered the chief theorists among the cognitive constructivists, and Vygotsky is the major theorist among all the social constructivists. And we all know who the founder of constructivism is, right? He is John Piaget. So, according to Elliott et al. 2000, constructivism in mathematics teaching is an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or make their own knowledge and that reality is determined by the experiences of the learners. Here are the 5 core principles of constructivism. The first one is knowledge is constructed, social learning, active learning, knowledge is personal, and reality and mind. Displayed in the screen is the contrast of traditional classroom and a constructivist one. So, in knowledge exists outside the student when in traditional classroom. And in constructivist classroom, students interpret materials to develop their own meaning and understanding. So, in traditional classroom, they are using teacher-centeredness. Then constructivist classroom are using student-centered, or students' voice and interest is part of the curriculum. So traditional classroom is passive learners. Constructivist classroom is an active learners, or students use inquiry and discovery to learn. So traditional classroom have an individual activity, while in constructivist classroom, hands-on investigation, debate, and creativity is evident. So competitiveness is found in traditional classroom, while small group centers and workstations can be found in constructivist classroom. Then in traditional classroom, they often search for correct answers, while in constructivist classroom, correct process or not, many correct processes are the answers. So that's what they are searching. So in traditional classroom, memorization of facts. Constructivist classroom, process and celebration of unique problem-solving methods. In traditional classroom, they use reliance on textbooks. Constructivist classroom are context before content. And in traditional classroom, They are using paper and pencil tests and constructivist classroom. They decide and defend the scores, games, and rubric-based evaluations. And let's proceed to the next one. So teaching for understanding for mathematics teaching. To explore the notion of understanding further, let's look into a learner-centered fourth grade classroom. In learner-centered classroom, teachers begin where the students are, with the students' ideas. Students are allowed to solve problems or to approach tasks in ways that make sense to them. So, here are the following parts of teaching for understanding for mathematics teaching. Teaching toward relational understanding. Teaching during the discussion periods in classes such as this one, ideas continue to grow. The students may hear and immediately understand a clever strategies shared by a classmate that they could have used but that did not occur to them. Others may begin to create new ideas to use that build from thinking about their classmates' strategies over multiple discussions. Some students in the class may hear excellent ideas from their peers that do not make sense to them. These students are simply not ready or do not have the prerequisite concept, grade that's to understand these new ideas. In future class sessions, there will be similar opportunities for all students to grow at their own pace based on what they already understand. So the next one is teaching toward instrumental understanding. In contrast to the lesson just described, in which students are developing concepts, understanding multi-digit multiplication and procedures, the ability to multiply flexibility, and seeing the relationships between these ideas, let's consider how a lesson with the same basic objective might look if the focus is on instrumental understanding. It is important to note that this lesson on the standard algorithm in combination with other lessons that reinforce other approaches can build a relational understanding as it adds to students' repertoire of strategies. But this lesson represents the sole approach to multiplying multi-digit numbers, then students are more likely to develop an instrumental understanding of mathematics. And in teaching for understanding and math curriculums, math teachers often teach from curriculum that do not provide direction and information for helping students to understand the math they learn. It is not likely that any of the applications shown above appear on any math curriculum. Nonetheless, these are excellent activities that can help students to develop important understandings of mathematics. So what should a math teacher do? First one, teachers should select and organize the lesson or unit content that follows the 5 strategies of teaching and learning math. The second one, math teachers should seek understanding ideas for the math they teach. They should not just teach and teach and teach because part of the learning process is teaching or learning. And you cannot teach if you have not learned something, and you cannot share your ideas, right? You cannot share something to your fellow men if you don't have enough. That is why we should seek understanding as much as we can as a future teacher or as a teacher. So the third one, math teachers should show their commitment to understanding math by including understanding questions on their tests and quizzes. And it's very crucial to do in teaching mathematics. Dale's cone of experience is a model that incorporates several theories related to instructional design and learning processes. During the 1960s, Edgar Dale theorized that learners retain more information by what they do as opposed to what is heard, read, or observed. This research led to the development of the cone of experience. Today, this learning by doing has become known as experiential learning or action learning. The cone is diagrammed and explained in the um, page or in this screen that you are watching right now. So you can see the picture of the cone of learning. So after 2 weeks, we tend to remember 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we see and hear, 70% of what we say, and 90% of what we say and do. According to Confucius, I see and I forget, I hear and I remember, I do and I understand. It's quite confusing, but that's the reality of life. Here are the three ways of learning. The first one is learning through abstractions or symbolic experience method. In the symbolic way of asynchronous teaching that stands out for a symbolic explanation of concepts and expressions, the execution of algorithms and methods of resolution, a geometry problem can be described in words and presented in expressions and notations. An exercise can be described by applying and solving algorithm or etc. So the second one is learning through observation or iconic experience method. The iconic teaching mode is emphasized during the blended, involves in fact blended learning and teaching. It is based on visual aspect, those images, formulas, mathematical expressions, geometric figures, geometric bodies, and etc. necessary to know where they can be applied. The iconic experience method can also be used for doing homework, working individual or group projects, watching tutorials, and using knowledge through practice. The last one is an active learning or synchronous learning or active method. The active synchronous method is learning during the teaching of new concepts. It is the process in which we use actively specific mathematical strategies to develop certain skills and habits, to discover new methods and problem-solving techniques. This is about the exploration-based learning and discovery learning method, the exercise and algorithm method. This type of learning requires the teacher to direct the student's work. In the case of active learning, we mentioned that it is specific to synchronous teaching. It is based on the sound ways, on speaking using mathematical concepts or terms to formulate definitions and theorems, to demonstrate formulas and theorems, to describe the steps in represent geometric figures, and etc. So, various constructivism strategies in teaching mathematics are the following. The first one is activity. The constructivist method is composed of at least 5 stages: inviting ideas, exploration, proposition, explanation, and solution, and taking action. The constructivist classroom also focuses on daily activities when it comes to student work. Teaching methods also emphasize communication and social skills as well as intellectual collaboration. It is different from a traditional classroom where students primarily work alone, learning through repetition and lecture. So here are some of the activities that is belong to the what? So here are some of the activities involved in this strategy: experimentation, films, research projects, class discussions, field trips, and campus wikis. So the second one is assessment. Traditional testing is only one facet of constructivist assessment of student success. Assessment also consists of personal, thorough interpretation of students' performance in the context of what their out-of-school life. Non-traditional constructivist assessment strategies include: the first one is oral discussion. So, the teacher presents students with a focused question and allows an open discussion of the project. The second one is the KWLH chart, or what we know, what we want to know, what we have learned, and how we know it. So it is used throughout the course of study for a particular topic, but is also a good assessment technique. It shows the teacher the progress of the student throughout the course of the study. The next one is the mind mapping, where the students list and categorize the concepts and ideas relating to a topic. The fourth one is hands-on activity. This encourages students to manipulate their environments or a particular learning tool. Teachers can use a checklist and observation to assess student success with particular material. And the last one is pre-testing. This allows a teacher to determine what knowledge students bring to a new topic and thus will be helpful in directing the course of study. The next strategy is the CRA model or the CRA model. It is composed of concrete, representational, and abstract. So this model is a powerful strategy for teaching new math concept. It is a three-part constructivist process that transitions students from hands-on instruction to the symbolic math we use as adults. This brings both meaning and context to how and why we use math to solve problems. Since state assessment often requires students to solve problems at all three levels, it has the additional benefit of helping them be successful in high-stakes testing. Specifically, research-based study shows that students who use concrete materials develop more precise and more comprehensive mental representations, often show more motivation and on-task behavior, understanding mathematical ideas, and better apply these ideas to life situation. So here are the processes. In concrete, teachers select manipulatives or such that counting blocks, geometric shape, unifix cube, measurement, tools, fraction bars, and etc. to demonstrate, model, and allow students to explore a new concept. And in representational, it is often called the semi-concrete or pictorial level. This phase transfers concrete model into visual representation using drawings and images. And in abstract, it is also called as symbolic level. Using operations and mathematical symbols, this phase would depict fractions numerically and parabolically. Arcs use an equation such as the equation that is shown in your screen. The next one is the mathematical modeling method. Teaching technique that focuses on the investigation of real-world problem using mathematics as a tool to make sense of the situation and map out possible situations. Throughout the process, students apply different strategies and evaluate their ability to solve the problem. Students also make assumptions about the problem to help them decide which methods are best to use. So we can think of mathematical modeling as being under the umbrella of problem-based learning, but with a math-specific focus. Students can model problems using all three CRA phases to integrate modeling with the instructional approach. So teachers often specify limitations such as time, money, energy, distance, health, or safety to make the problem more realistic. Finding the right answer is not the mission. Instead, students attempt to find the best solution within the confines of the scenario, rather than finding a perfect answer. The solutions are good enough for the real-life requirements. This problem can be motivating for mathematics students who can relate to mathematics that solves problems that are important to them. The last one is the 5E lesson model. 5E lesson model has been developed in 1987 by BSCS, while it was originally used for science instruction. It can be seamlessly applied to math, The 5E model is often associated with inquiry-based learning, active learning, experiential learning, discovery learning, and knowledge building, all variations and parallels of constructivism. Split into 5 phases: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. The 5E approach helps students build knowledge from prior understandings via context building activities and differentiated learning. So in engage phase, it is in this section about laying the foundation for learning. Teachers begin this section by pre-assessing students to determine their current understanding and how best to design the lesson to meet them there. A central activity, the hook, then lays out a storyline narrative to establish a purpose for learning and to be used as reference to return throughout the entire cycle. So, in Explore section, this is where students dig into meat of the content. Why? Because in Explore section, scaffolded hands-on activities are being provided that build toward mastery of the standards. Students are encouraged to apply process skills such as observing, questioning, investigating, testing predictions, hypothesizing, and communicating with other peers. So let's proceed to the Explain section. This section offers a variety of resources that help connect the experiences of the Explore activities to the academic content students need to know. Resources to accomplish this may include illustrated vocabulary cards, independent practice, and journal prompts. Elaborate sections make differentiation possibly by leveraging a wide range of activities, digital and paper-based games, spiral review, career connections, literacy connection, and research that are perfect for rotations. And last one, the evaluate section. Non-traditional assessments such as portfolios, performance-based tasks, rubric-based activities, debates, journal logs, and portfolios are just as important as traditional fill-in-the-blank, multiple choice, and essay-driven assessments. So, thank you so much for listening, and may God bless all of you. And I hope and I pray that you have learned something in our lesson this day. God bless everyone. Stay safe, stay positive, not in COVID, but in life.